What is going on, ballers? It's your boy MJ coming at you with another episode of the Fantasy Fumble, episode number 52, right,
yeah,
Joe?
that's right. Yeah, I meant to mention something when we hit 50, but I completely forgot until I was editing the episode. So,
Hey,
oh yeah,
man.
52.
What is that? 3 years, man. 3 seasons we've been doing this, guys. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We got some great information in here for you guys. Bring back some of those fun segments. And then, of course, we'll get into news and notes here. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Hey there, my name is Manny James Gonzalez with PRB, and I'm a real estate agent here in Central Florida. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, military relocation pro, and big supporter of 2A and veterans' rights. My specialty is VA transactions. I'm also experienced in all parts of real estate.
I've been living in Florida for over 20 years, and I can tell you we still believe in freedom down here. One of the greatest job markets, excellent economy, and no state income tax. When it comes to an agent, you want one that's going to be honest, not afraid of a fight, and most importantly, willing to do the things that some agents aren't willing to do.
And what's that, Manny?
Shoot straight, Dan. If you're ever considering buying in Central Florida, you need somebody you can trust, and I got your six. I'm Manny James Gonzalez, finding land for the free and home for the brave.
Welcome back, ballers. Let's get into some news and notes. Now, unfortunately, there are a list of injuries to discuss, and that's the bulk of the news going into Week 8. Texans wide receiver Nico Collins suffered a concussion. Jaguars wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. appeared to suffer a shoulder injury late in the game. I haven't heard any updates on that just yet, but as we all saw, that fall from wide receiver Mike Evans put him on IR. He's expected to miss most of the regular season after suffering a broken collarbone. And on the same team, Bucky Irving and Chris Godwin are both out for Week 8 as well. Saints running back Kendre Miller suffered a torn ACL and will miss the rest of the season. Vikings running back Aaron Jones, on a positive note, is coming back to practice and could even be active for Week 8. And same with tight end Brock Bowers. He could be available in Week 8. Actually, no, he's on a bye, so he could be available for Week 9. And Dolphins tight end Darren Waller was placed on IR after that pectoral injury. And David Njoku is considered day-to-day because of his knee injury. And something to keep an eye on this week. We thought Lamar could be back a couple weeks ago, but he might not be ready to go again this week. And they are in desperate need of a win, so that's going to say a lot if he doesn't play. And right before we started recording, another announcement that Jaden Daniels is out for Week 8 due to a hamstring injury. It's been a nagging injury. It's put him out again. And quarterback Bryce Young is expected to miss Week 8 against the Bills with a high ankle sprain, and Andy Dalton is in line to start. And quarterback Michael Penix Jr. is considered day-to-day because of a bone bruise in his foot. And Brock Purdy, his status is still up in the air for Week 8, and same with Ricky Pearsall.
Man, that is a shit ton of injuries, man. That is the injury apocalypse that we like to talk about, guys, and it happens every year. Now, let me tell you something, guys. There's some guys that are going to fill in these bye weeks, and they could save your fantasy season. So we're going to get into all that, but obviously we're going to talk about that during our trade targets. Joe, I'm going to lead this one out. I got to come out the gates. All right. So we were just talking about this before the show started. Arondé Gadsden, LA Chargers. He's somebody that popped up into my radar when I was doing film study. So the little thing is I watch every single game from Sunday on over, like from front to finish. I watch everything, just kind of see guys that pop out, just kind of go over what his stats look like. Last game, he had 14 catches on 17 targets. That means he was getting 8.5 targets a game, right? The last 2 games. And people are like, well, that's not a lot to go by. But keep in mind, he has only been a starter for the last 2 games. His actual trajectory has been on the uptick, early on, right? Like he wasn't getting a lot of play because he was a rookie. He had Will Dissly to compete with. And now that he's actually on there, he's a very athletic tight end. And he's going to be a really good outlet for Justin Herbert because typically he's going to be matched up against linebackers. And if they don't have like a Patrick Queen type of coverage linebacker, you're going to see him get open a lot more often. So somebody, he may not be that low now, because unfortunately he did have that pretty incredible game, but he's somebody that should be on your radar. Hopefully he has maybe a comeback to earth moment and you get a solid floor out of him and then make your offer.
Yeah, I think what you said about him is absolutely true. He's just getting started. He's very athletic, plays like a wide receiver, and he's going to be running different plays. So there's going to be times where they just dish it off to him. I feel like if you're looking for a tight end, he's a safer play than some of these. Don't get me wrong, all 3 wide receivers are total studs, but it's hard to gauge who's going to be getting the ball every week. And I feel like the tight end just gives you a little bit more separation. So he should have a solid floor for, in my opinion, the rest of the season if he continues to get targets.
Oh yeah. Now who's your target?
I wanted to just echo a player that you mentioned a couple weeks ago because I feel like he's becoming more relevant, and that's Tet McMillan. He has been solid all season, averaging 7.5 targets and 12 fantasy points per game. But you mentioned this briefly on Sunday. While most people see the loss of Bryce Young for the next few weeks as a detriment to his production, I think it could be better with Andy Dalton. I'm pretty sure you agree with me on this, but we've seen good games from Bryce Young, and like I said, Tet's been solid all season. But I feel like Andy Dalton's experience and actually lack of running ability should help Tet continue to see ample targets and a high floor every week. So I think you could, obviously say the opposite when you're trying to get him on your team. Say, hey, you got a backup quarterback now. His floor is going to be lower, and try to get him. And then turns out his floor is actually higher with someone like Andy Dalton. So I just think, week to week, he should be a little bit more reliable with Andy Dalton. Maybe I'm wrong. And Bryce Young is the better quarterback there, even for fantasy purposes. But Andy Dalton's always been a treat for fantasy football, and I think he's going to continue.
Yeah, definitely. And Tet McMillan, I'm so big on him that I got him in, both my leagues. So I've been a big believer in him. Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, so it should be a good.
Yeah, you've been talking about him since preseason, so I know you're high on him.
Well, he's finally. You're going to see that actual growth because Andy Dalton's he may not have as big of an arm as Bryce Young, but he has a more accurate arm. And a lot of those games when you saw Tet McMillan play, he was open. The ball just didn't get to him, and we're going to have a lot better timing with Andy Dalton behind there because he knows, hey, it's probably going to be a 2-step drop and then release, right? Whichever guy you find for your options. And more often than not, Tet McMillan was always open.
Yeah, the scrambling is something that can help, obviously, but I feel like when I was talking about Dalton's experience, there's going to be less of that and just more focused, accurate throws, so I feel like that's going to be better for Tet. And regardless of how long it lasts, if it's just a few weeks, great. Get him on your team, have some boom weeks, but also the rest of the season, he's a solid play, regardless of who quarterbacks. Now, there's one other guy I'd like to talk about, another quarterback, and that's Jackson Dart. He's been pretty good over the last few weeks, even without Neighbors on the field. He's making big things happen through the air, and his legs give him a very safe floor. He's built a solid rapport with Wan'Dale Scatterboo, and he's even getting Theo Johnson involved at tight end. And he's even had 4 touchdowns over the last 4 weeks. And the chances are whoever in your league grabbed Dart off waivers has him as a backup. So make a low ball trade get him on your roster. I think, honestly, he could be a reliable starter for the rest of the season just based on what I've seen the last few weeks. So I think now's the time to get him.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have anybody trying to oversell him, right? Because remember, if they're trying to get this top, 30-point price, make sure you're paying that, 15 to 20 point a game guy, right? Play that rookie angle because you definitely don't want to, give him any implication on what you see in him or the benefit, right? So I always want to have that upper edge. Now, for me, I do have another guy that I wanted to talk about here. And he's somebody that, some people may not believe in him all the way, but he's somebody that I think is finally going to live up to that potential, and that's Travis Hunter. I mean, he had that. Everybody's going to say it's a one game, it's an anomaly, 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 monopoly, anomaly. And honestly, man, Liam Cohen said it in the press conference. He's gonna get him more looks. He's gonna be playing full time. He's gonna have design plays, and they got him to play for something other than a fucking wide receiver screen or slant, which I'm happy to see, right? Because slant, you have to have a certain type of receiver. He's not a big physical in traffic receiver, right? You need a guy like JSN. He's compact and powerful. You got a guy down there, Ted McMillan, right? Those are guys you want in your slant. So a guy like Travis Hunter, he's going to keep getting those big splash plays. And if he's consistently getting play at full time, I mean, look at his last name, 12 catches on 21 targets. That's in the last 2 games, 116 yards and a touchdown. So he's somebody that you're going to have some really big weeks, but I think overall you're going to have a really solid floor from here on out, at least 15 a game.
Yeah, and I was frustrated with him. I had him in pretty much every league and either traded him or dropped him. You saw the one in one of your leagues, I dropped him. And you picked him up right away and you're like, man, thanks for dropping him. And I just was straight up said, yeah, he's going to have a good season. I'm just too frustrated right now to keep him. And I mean, I'm pretty deep at wide receiver. But if you look at the last 3 weeks, he's been playing on offense more and more. So I think last week was his highest snap count on offense so far this season. And I think that's a sign of things to come for sure. And think about it, man. If Brian Thomas Jr.'s out, he's going to get fed even more targets.
Hopefully he's not out, because if you got Brian Thomas Jr., you got him in what, second or third round in 12-man drafts. Obviously, anything less than that, it's going to be later. But he's somebody you had to invest in early.
Oh yeah, he's a second, third round, and has not been living up to that so far this season.
12-man PPR, fellas. If you're doing anything less than that, then
don't be in a 10-team league, man. Get out. Just get 2 more friends to join the league.
Add 2 more. They could just be donation buddies, right? You get them in there.
Yeah.
They do fantasy football and figure out that, they're not very good at it, but thank you for the donation.
Now let's get into our hot matchups. Now, who's your hot matchup?
For my hot matchup was a team that you shitted on with the injuries. Jaden Daniels, Washington Commanders, going over and playing in Kansas City. I think that the Commanders might score a few times. I don't think the Chiefs are going to really dominate them, even with Mariota. He might have that one good game here for the season. That could be it. But I know the Chiefs for sure are going to want to put it on them, because right now they're trying to prove to the league that they're the best team in the league. The only way they can do that is by, start spanking some other teams on the way. So, bro, they're going to be running up the score, beating them, trying to humiliate them. Because right now they're a pissed off team that are looking to get revenge, man. And right now, to be honest, the NFL's up for taking, because the Philadelphia Eagles just really don't have it right now, man. They don't have, that same discipline that they need. So I'm hoping that BG, Brandon Graham coming back, does that for Philly, gives them that veteran leadership on the defensive side of the ball, because that could really help us and Jalen Carter flourish. So regardless, I'm excited to see them play on Monday night. It's going to be a good game, and it's going to be some fireworks.
Yeah, I got to say, you were right about Mahomes. I did not have him. I had him just outside of my top 10 in preseason rankings at 11. And I know you were much higher on him. I was like, man, I got to see it again. Well, I saw it. He's amazing. He's got all his weapons back. I think that's going to be a really high scoring game because the Commanders are going to have to play catch up. I'm not exactly sure what's up with Debo and Terry McLaurin, but we know that Jaden Daniels is out and that their run game has been very inconsistent and the past games have been very inconsistent. But if it's a high scoring game, you can plug in your starters at wide receiver and be pretty confident that they're going to have a good floor because they're going to be playing catch up because the Chiefs are dominant right now.
Yeah, and I looked that up too. I went back to my 2025 preseason rankings, and I had Mahomes at number 6 for quarterback.
Yeah, I knew you had him much higher than I did, and I went back to check too last week because I was like, I don't think I had him inside of my top 10.
Yeah, he's doing better than expected, man. Josh Allen, obviously, he's been having ups and downs, right? And that's just I know that I had Josh Allen last year as well, and I traded him because I gave up on him early. Like he was having those ups and downs for the first, 8-9 weeks of the season, and I got rid of him finally.
He does that a lot. I did that a few years ago too. Where I got a little frustrated with him a couple weeks in a row, and I traded him, and it was a stupid trade. I think I actually had J.K. Dobbins in that trade, and he got hurt right after that too. So anyway, I feel like you guys, including your Eagles, I think they are disciplined enough where they're going to be fine rest of the season. And we've seen their pass game be up and down, but altogether, I think all three of those teams are going to be solid rest of the season. Now, for my hot matchup, I have the Cowboys versus the Broncos.
Ooh.
For the same reasons I discussed about the Cowboys in my hot matchup last week, they're solid again this week. They have the best offense and the worst defense. Statistically, they are at the absolute end of each spectrum, which is a perfect recipe for fantasy football. Dak, Javonte, CD, Pickens, Ferguson, start all of them, no questions asked. The Broncos have one of the best defenses in the league. I understand that, but it doesn't matter. You are starting those guys. They are lineup locks. And then the Broncos, they're a top 10 offense too. And up against the Cowboys defense, we should expect some of those numbers that we normally see to be inflated a little bit. And Bo Nix and Sutton, in my opinion, are locked in. And despite J.K. Dobbins having, not the greatest numbers the last couple of weeks, this should be a really good matchup for him and a bounce back week. And last week, he still had over 80 rushing yards. He just couldn't find the end zone. So I'm pretty high on him this week too. And even the other wide receivers like Troy Franklin, who actually had 10 targets and 13 fantasy points last week, and Marvin Mims, who had 7 targets and 16 fantasy points last week. I feel like during a bye week with all these injuries, you could plug them in, hope for the best, and you might get lucky with another double-digit fantasy week. And even Evan Ingram, he should give you a respectable floor at tight end this week.
Yeah, and somebody that I was definitely high on that I still have a positive outlook on, you touched on for the Broncos, RJ Harvey. He's somebody that I think has all the skill set, right? He could he could catch out of the flat. He could run the ball. He's had some good games when he's been featured, but he hasn't been featured all, as the primary back because obviously J.K. Dobbins has been excellent and efficient this year. So I'm hoping that they use him more in the future. But there was at the end of the day, the Cowboys are gonna do what they do and score points, and it's gonna be a fun matchup for sure.
And I think they will use RJ Harvey. I just don't know when. It might not be for another month.
Be patient.
He's not getting the touches, but yeah, I'd say be patient too, especially with Dobbins as your starter. He's got that injury history that makes you nervous.
Like James Conner, right? I say it every year.
Oh, that's true every year, yeah.
I know, right? You can say it every year for the last 5 years. To his credit, he's been healthy for the last 2, right?
And when he is healthy, he's a stud.
Man, 25 points a game, brother. But now let's go ahead and get into the cold call of the week.
My cold call is the Browns versus the Patriots. Despite both teams scoring 31 points last week, I do not expect the same output this week. The Browns defense is firing on all cylinders and was incredible against Miami. Obviously, a game against the Dolphins is much easier than the Patriots, but they've been rock solid all year, and I expect them to show up again this week. And the Patriots defense is legit too. They're a borderline top 10, and they're going up against one of the worst offenses in the league. The Browns, I'm starting Quinshon Judkins, of course. Despite the Patriots having a top 3 run defense, I still feel like he's a lineup lock. It's just that you've got to lower your expectations when you're going against a team like the Patriots, who is top 3 against the run. And although last week was kind of disappointing, I might consider Fannin at tight end as well. It kind of depends on the Njoku and the tight end situation for you, but the Patriots have struggled a little bit against the pass, so he could be a good play. And for the Patriots, it's a little bit harder to gauge. They're a good football team, but as I mentioned last week, you don't know who's going to produce each game. So Drake May, I feel like he's proven himself as a lineup lock until we have reason to see otherwise. And despite the ups and downs every week, I'm probably going to start Diggs and Ramondre, but with a much lower ceiling because you're going against the Cleveland Browns. And I think Kayshon Boutte will be a disappointment. If you're expecting the points we've seen from him over the last couple of weeks, I would not be confident with him in my lineup really any week, but especially this week. And another guy that's similar to RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, I thought he was going to take over the Patriots backfield by now, but we got to remember he is a rookie. It takes time. But I feel like he should be on your bench until we see something from him. And, the Patriots are committed to Ramondre. So,
Fumbleitis ass motherfucker.
I know, but they are going to continue feeding him. And Travion's just not getting the touches to have in your double flex. I wouldn't put him on. I'd put him on my bench.
I start him. I had injuries. I've had players that have been out, so I've been forced to put him in my flex. And Travion Henderson, man, I think he had a 0-point game last week or the week before. It was terrible. The Patriots are actually using him less than when they started. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
Now, Joe, for my cold call, I'm going to have to say Dolphins versus the Falcons. Now, hear me out. I know the Falcons have Bijan Robinson, and he is a must start. Drake London's a must start. I'm just concerned about the competitiveness of this game. The Dolphins are playing, and although I know Devin Achane is a must start, no one else on that offense is. Darren Waller was the last guy, and he just got put on IR. So you're not going to play anybody other than Achane. And all the Falcons have to do is stop Achane. They have a great secondary, solid front four, so they're going to be able to maintain pressure. And I just don't think it's going to be a really good day for them. Falcons, on the other hand, going up against a terrible defense, they're going to put up their points. Those guys I'm starting with confidence, but I'm keeping Mooney on the bench. I'm keeping, Kyle Pitts on the bench unless you don't have a better option, right? He should have been your backup, but it's just not a good game that I want to see. But like I said, if you have Bijan, you're probably going to rake in 2 or 3 touchdowns.
I think that game depends a lot on what the Falcons decide to do. If they just want to kick the teeth down the Miami Dolphins' throat and really put the pedal to the metal and keep their starters in the whole game, that could actually be, really good for Bijan, Drake London, and even Kyle Pitts. But if they decide to take a more reserved approach and they just get up by 3 scores and going into the second half, rest their starters, that's the only way I could see it really being a low-scoring game. Otherwise, I feel like, it's going to be a really high-scoring game because the Miami Dolphins are going to be down so big that they've got to play catch up. Maybe they get a couple scores and bring it back to a 1-score game, And then Bijan and Drake London continue to light it up. So I could see that going either direction, but it could just be a slaughter that ends up being like, between 30 and 40 total points.
I mean, honestly, I think Miami is not going to get more than 20 points for the game. I think they're going to get absolutely thrashed by the Falcons defense. I mean, the secondary, I talked about them, but they have some studs back there. And I think they're going to I don't think they're going to run up the score on Miami, because why kick them while they're down? Everybody knows their shit. They're not, but it's different if you're playing like a good team, like the Buccaneers, the Eagles, right? Like the, Steelers, people that are running for the division, trying to take the division. Those are people that, teams that you run up the score on, because those are the contenders, but, and typically those are games where you get to see what your young guys have. Hence what the Chiefs did.
Right.
So I expect the Falcons to kind of do the same. You're going to probably see some Algier love, by the second half there.
Hey, might be a sneaky play if you're in need with these injuries and bye weeks.
Flex only, guys, not starter.
Of course. Now let's get into our shit calls. Now, to pick up where I left off about Travion Henderson, about a month ago, I did a player profile and encouraged people to trade for him. The first week after that, he was good. He got, I think, 13 or 14 fantasy points. And then the next 3 weeks, Mike Vrabel put him on the back burner. He's just not getting the touches. So, as I mentioned earlier, he should be benched until we see something from him. And if you did make a trade for him, hopefully you didn't trade too much.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. I've been on the Travion Henderson train since the off season too. I'm appalled to see the situation that is going on there. That travesty in New England. They still prefer Fumbleitis or Mondre, and the guy is on his third year in the league anyway. So like guys like that, you invested a high draft pick in Travion. Wasn't he like a second rounder or something like that?
Yeah, I think I don't know what round he was, but
second or third. He got taken after Caleb Johnson. Now for my shit call, I was trying to look at some things that I did, or I said, and it's not typically things that I said that end up being off, right? Like you can't always predict scores of games. Obviously, if I could, I'd be rich off gambling. But what I can tell you is that I made a bad play. So my shit call was I was getting to the Monday night game, and I had Tez Johnson for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on my flex all week since Wednesday. He's been my flex. Game time, I ended up dropping him for Jaden Higgins. And Jaden Higgins played 56 snaps. And you know how many receptions he got? 0. Zilch. He didn't do a fucking thing. And you know what? It's not that he hasn't had opportunity. He was a second round draft pick, right? Or 4, but sorry, it was a second. But there's somebody that I do want to talk about on that team. And that's somebody that didn't bring anybody's attention, but Jalen Noel. This guy, when he gets touches, he capitalizes. He had 4 receptions for 77 yards last game, and he had 7 targets, but he's on the uptick as well. Since CJ Stroud started playing better, his targets have been going up. And now if you talk about a concussion for Nico Collins, who's going to step up? Jalen Noel is going to step up, right? Jaden Higgins might get lucky here and there, but I don't think he has the same drive as this guy. So, right now, if you look at him, he's owning 2% of the leagues. He's not somebody that's on anybody's radar. 1%, excuse me. 1% in leagues, 0% start. And I'm starting a fucker.
For with Cade Otton. With that, I love the Cade Otton start, though. I gotta say, man. Cade Otton, we saw what Cade Otton did for a month last year. He could have another good month coming up.
Yeah, I know that was mirrored backwards, guys. But if if you saw it there, I have Gaston, Jalen Noel. These are guys I believe in, not just because they're my only shot. With all the damn injuries I've had Bucky Irvin out
Dude,
for the
you're
last 5
you're
weeks,
still in the top 3 in both leagues,
bro.
So,
And I've been getting squashed lately. But like I said, the uptick, man, that weeks 14 through 17, those are the ones that matter, guys. Right? Just get that momentum, get some early wins in, make some sacrifices, and then play the long game after that. Because at the end of the day, as long as you could come in at 7-8, right, and barely squeak into the playoffs, and your team just catches fire. Like you're saying, Minnesota's schedule, Detroit's schedule. I love the LA Chargers schedule second half of the season. I also love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers schedule. And
yeah.
if you can buy on Bucky, man, if someone's willing to take Bucky this week because they need that bye week starter and they just giving up on Bucky, buy low on, or you could buy at price for Bucky.
Yeah,
Because guarantee next week is the bye week for the Bucks. He's coming up after that, and bro, he's just gonna be on a fucking tear because all that workload Rashad White got is now gonna go to Bucky.
Oh yeah.
And then Rashad White's gonna get the Sean Tucker role, right? Like a few touches here and there, a couple goal line touches, but make them happy.
Just like it was before, pretty much. It's not going to be much different. It's just that Bucky's going to turn it on. He's going to finish strong.
Yes, sir. And Emeka Ibuka, that guy's finished. He'll be back.
Hey, and I gotta say, man, Jaden Higgins was another guy I drafted in just about every league because I had really high hopes for him, and Christian Kirk was injured. I'm like, oh, Kirk's out. Higgins is going to be the number 2. Nope. Did absolutely nothing. And that's how I feel about, the rest of the season is like, even with Nico out and Christian Kirk, being back in the mix, but still a little banged up, I don't expect anything from Higgins. And I hope I'm wrong and I can grab him off the waiver wire again. But it's been disappointing because I had high hopes for him and he has not produced anything.
Well, I'll tell you, Higgins' shot is gone, brother. Jalen Noel is the guy now. So pick him up now. 1% own, 0% start. I'm that 0%.
Hey, if you just pick him up and put him on your bench, if you're not confident, if you don't want to start him, totally understandable. Keep him on your bench. See what happens. You see how often I do that. And you see I have Taysom Hill in every single league because Kendre Miller's out for the season. If they just give those Kendre touches, if they just give if they split it between Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill, sometimes 5 touches is all Taysom Hill needs to have a respectable day. For a tight end, come on.
Hey, I agree. I'm sorry, ballers. It's that time again. We got to go, man. It's the end of the show. We want to thank you again. Episode number 52. It's a milestone, man. Consistency. We want to get this continue to go, right? Like this is us. So we always joke around about sharing it, but do share, keep downloading, and keep showing your support, guys, on those videos. We do really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. As you mentioned earlier, fantasy football is gambling, and it's tough to be right about everything. And we have missed calls, but we've been pretty solid. If you look at our track history, we've been very solid over the last 3 years, and we will continue to do so because we just watch the football games on Sunday and make pretty general, obvious assessments that, maybe your league members aren't paying attention to. So like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We appreciate the support.
Yep. And we'll see you here next week, baller. Same time, same place. You have a great night. Be safe. And we'll see you again, guys. We appreciate you so much.